I have a clear habit. It's called morning pages. You wake up in the morning filled with anxiety because, I'm a stupid artist, have lots of like anxious project ideas and problems. And you write it down. You write it down first thing in the morning. I write down exactly what I'm anxious about. And then the anxiety starts to turn into an idea or a solution, or it morphs into almost like a dream that you're writing. And then the anxiety is not with me anymore. It's on the page. And I used to do that every day, do it every other day now. And it makes me a really chill person. Highly recommend it. This movie is called Life After Bob, and it's a 48-minute animation, and that's how a viewer first enters the work. But then you learn that you can modify the world of the film in an online wiki, and you can also explore every scene, every shot. You can go deeper into it using your phone. And that then modifies the experience that people see when they watch the main film, but they won't know that because they're watching for the first time. And I think it's a way to extend the agency of a viewer into a narrative film. The narrative is the hook, and then it's a hook to get more deeply interested and appreciative of a fictional world. But if you just start with a world without the narrative, it's very hard to do that. So that's why I organized it with a whole production team, with doing animation very intensely to make it feel like a film, which it is, but then it's a film that's live and you can alter the details of it. And over time, you can kind of erode the setting. Every detail of the film can change from the viewer. And you only know that once you've seen the film, because it's not meaningful until you see it a second time. When I saw The Matrix for the first time, it changed my whole relationship to the spoon, Before a spoon's a spoon, after you see The Matrix, a spoon means something completely different, much more philosophical about the nature of reality. And a film can do that. It can assign meaning to something that is not meaningful. This writer I like called Venkatesh Rao said, architecture is to space as temporality is to time. And so in architecture, we learn how to live in space in a better way, right? And we are now learning, I think, through a lot of the artworks here and the landscape and the transformation of the landscape, how to live in time in new ways. It's not just on the clock, like 24/7, clock in, clock out, we're working. It's how to experience the elasticity of time, and so many of the works deal with that here, and you feel that in this landscape. And just being here today, I don't know what time it is, maybe it's the jet lag, but I like to think it's also, there's a kind of magic to just the relaxedness of being here as a campus. So I feel like I'm living in a different kind of time by being here. I think it's very important for artwork to feel alive, especially now in the 21st century. And I think in my own work and the work that I look at in other artists, to see a sense of aliveness, whether that's a performance or that's a living animal, or for me personally, trying to make these computer simulations that are constantly changing. I think this volatility that you get when something's alive touches a person's subconscious and their nervous system differently than an inert artwork. There's some inert artworks that can do it, like a Rothko, but I think more and more, we crave something that is alive, that can activate our nervous system, and usually it's another nervous system or an artificial nervous system that can do that. I think that's what people deeply want with art, and I think that has a transcendent quality when you can touch a person's subconscious, the viewer. What you give them, that's another question, what content, but if you can touch a person's subconscious, I think that's the way to engage with art. And when I went to art school, they didn't teach you that. They just taught you how to be self-reflexive, critical, art history, make jokes about art. And I don't think this is what art is good for. It's for touching the subconscious and talking to that, because there's not that many other parts of culture that talk to that. When I was a little kid, I lived in Los Angeles, just near the beach, and there are these tide pools there. And tide pools where the tide's very low and a lot of little creatures can start to live in a little kind of natural pond. And I used to just kind of imagine the lives of these creatures in the tide pool. And I think as I became an artist, I wanted to recreate that feeling because it was so wondrous as a kid.